Senator Cory Booker, Democrat in New Jersey, is a member of the Judiciary Committee, and he joins me now. Senator, this has sort of taken the world by storm, the sort of MAGA world by storm. It's all initiated by this memo released by the Department of Justice. It wasn't initiated by anything else other than them saying, we told you all this stuff is coming, full disclosure, we're going to release it all. It's all incriminating. It's on my desk. There's nothing to see here. Given that, given the way the president has reacted to it, and given the reporting from the Wall Street Journal today, what is your thinking about what's going on here, and what do you want to see happen?
Well, there's nothing surprising in that letter. Remember, Donald Trump, in his own words, told us who he was when he had those crass comments about grabbing women by their genitalia. This is a president who talked openly, and we know it, it's his own words, about walking in his beauty pageants into the dressing room where there are teenage girls. This is what he has said in the past. And we also know that this is a president that was found liable for sexual assault by a jury. So we already know there's a pattern of Donald Trump and that kind of creepiness. This letter shouldn't surprise anybody, and the Wall Street Journal wouldn't have taken the risk against his lawsuits to publish it if they didn't believe and have it verified. The challenge we have right now is that we have a Justice Department that is actively either lying to the American people when they said that there were truckloads full of evidence, when the Attorney General said that on her desk were client lists and more. Either they were lying then, or they're lying now, and also adding to that a profound lack of transparency. This is not a real issue because of what it reveals. Not that Donald Trump is a creep, we know that. The problem is Donald Trump now is the most powerful man in the world. He's a president of the United States. And what he's doing with the Justice Department is having them act more like his personal lawyers than people who have a responsibility and obligation to be forthright and get to the truth and establish justice.
You know, one of the things that's so striking here in the context of that, because I like you, I don't even really know what we're talking about when we're talking about, quote unquote, the Epstein files. I mean, I haven't seen them. I don't know, like, what does that refer to, right? There's this sort of assumption that it's there's some box, right? And it's the stuff, right? And I don't know if that's a sort of fabrication on the part of Payam Bondi and Kash Patel and all those people who are beating the drum to try to get Donald Trump elected or not. But one of the things that is striking to me, and I'd like to hear you respond to, is the Wall Street Journal reports that this is amongst the documents reviewed by the Department of Justice, right? In the prosecution of the cases, which would indicate that, like, maybe there is some stuff the Department of Justice has in its hands that the public should know, particularly about the associations between the most notorious pedophile of the last 20 or 30 years and the sitting president of the United States.
Yeah, look, we know this was an awful man who did horrific things, that there are real victims to his crimes. And so when you have leading figures in the Trump administration, from the head of the FBI to our Attorney General, telling the public that there is that there are mountains of evidence to implicate people in serious, serious crimes, and then all of a sudden to turn on a dime and to say there's nothing to see there, something is seriously wrong. Again, to have our leading figures either be involved in a cover-up or to be patently lying to the American people, either of those scenarios is problematic and deserves investigation. And this is yet another example in the United States of America that is based upon a constitution of checks and balances, that we in Congress are not doing our job. The Republican-controlled Congress, instead of holding hearings, imagine if this was Barack Obama. Imagine if this was a President Hillary Clinton. I mean, imagine that for a second. The demands for hearings, the hearings that they would have. And so what I have a problem with right now is very powerful people. Yes, they should. The President of the United States is more and more having the Republican Party in Congress under his thrall, that they have surrendered their constitutional obligations, that they are undermining the very idea of checks and balances and congressional oversight, and are surrendering power to a man who clearly wants to be more like an authoritarian leader than a president.
One of the sort of essential players in that Department of Justice, at least up until now, is a man named Emil Bove. And you wrote a letter. He has now been nominated to an appellate judgeship. He has faced opposition across the political spectrum, including 900 900, I'm not misquoting that, former Department of Justice lawyers who have come out against him. He was instrumental in the corrupt deal with Eric Adams, which led to the acting U.S. attorney resigning there. He's been instrumental in the violation, it seems, of a judge's order to turn around flights. You wrote a letter asking him, demanding info on what he knows about the Epstein files. And also today, you were among Democrats on the Judiciary Committee who walked out at the moment of a vote to elevate Mr. Bove to lifelong tenure as an appellate judge. Why?
Well, first of all, the list of problems with Emil Bove are historic. You don't see this many of former prosecutors. We see former judges coming forward, Republican-appointed judges and Democratic-appointed judges, all coming forward and saying, don't put this man on the bench. He has had one of the worst accusations of a Brady violation by a judge we've ever seen, and that's a violation that says that a prosecutor kept exculpatory evidence away from a defense trial and literally was condemned from the bench for doing that. This is a guy that we now have a whistleblower who said to people in the Justice Department, you can blank F a court order when the Supreme Court was ordering them around the Abrigo Garcia case not to let him out of the country, not to fly him out of the country. Time and time again, in fact, a bunch of former federal public defenders, who are also some of them prosecutors as well, called him the drunk driving version of a prosecutor. He is reckless and dangerous. So it is under this context that now we know that he was one of the principal leaders of the Justice Department during this investigation into Jeffrey Epstein. He knows things, he has information, and yet my Republican colleagues today did not even allow for debate to continue over this person, as are the rules of the Senate, or the rules of this committee, that they tried to just ram him through, suspending the deliberations that the Constitution, through its advise and consent clause, demands that we do. So here is, again, the Republican Party trying to stop debate, stop people from standing up and telling the truth. They don't want to listen to the whistleblower. They don't want to listen to the evidence. They don't want to listen to former judges, former prosecutors, former federal defenders coming forward, and it is wrong. And so, yeah, the Judiciary Committee did something I've never seen done before. They stood up. They demanded to be heard, as the rules are. They were silenced as this was being rammed through, and this should not be acceptable, as this man is up for a lifetime appointment. He knows things. He should come and testify to them.
Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey serves on that Senate Judiciary Committee. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.